just physically, what was that like? We were asking you all about like, oh, it's a new country and all that stuff, but to be on a plane and then to readjust and then come back, like what was just that like to be on a flight that long? And
Yeah, it was a long flight. Get right off, go to a kids clinic, try to acclimate yourself to the time difference. The biggest thing, or the craziest thing to me was, we left at whatever it was, 6, 7 o'clock. So by the time you go to sleep, it's probably not 9. It's probably 4 or 5 hours into the flight. So you still got 9, 10 hours left. So you sleep well. When you wake up, it's already 4 in the afternoon there. We go to a kids clinic, and when we come out of the kids clinic, it's dark again. And so I'm like, wait a minute, I just woke up like an hour and a half ago. So interesting the way, it worked. But I think coming back, leaving after the game was great because, you kind of fight to stay up a little bit later, and then you just can't. You sleep, and when you wake up, if you slept well, it's 9 a.m. when we land. And then you got a whole day, right? And you're tired last night, but I think the coming back was easier. But being on a plane for 14, 15 hours is different. It's a unique experience. I slept well. I probably slept 8 hours each way, give or take. We had the kind of lie flat beds, which helped. Prior to that, or prior to going to sleep, watched a movie, hung around with some of the guys, chatted. It was good team camaraderie. It was good. Assistant coaches, their spouses, different people were there. My mom came with me. So for her to have that experience was really cool on the team charter. And I think overall it was just, a fun trip. And it is one of those once-in-a-lifetime type experiences, right? We were the first ever NBA game played in the UAE. And so that's a really cool thing to be a part of. And they welcomed us with open arms, and they were all, jazzed and excited about the games, and the entire atmosphere was great. You're asking the wrong guy. I try to stay away from those cards tables.
I guess just for you being there, what was that?
It was cool. I mean, it was unique. It was, it's hot. It's like you think Vegas, but it's humid too. In Vegas it's dry heat, so it's a mixture of both. It's on the water, but it's desert elsewhere, and it's beautiful. Everything's new. Everything seems to be like somehow there's greenery around the new stuff, but then it's, brown and desert when you get out of it. And so to experience the culture and to be kind of immersed in that was really cool. And then to be able to, see the mosque or see different things or ride a camel or stuff like that you'd never do or you'd never experience if you weren't over there was probably the most memorable part.
On the court, Charles mentioned it, and then Bud went into a little detail about an emphasis this camp, this preseason, of contested threes a little differently.
Yeah, I think it's the way the league's going, right? More threes are being shot, and I think for us, we've been a historically good defensive team. How do we get even better is trying to reduce threes. And I think it's a work in progress, right? I think, reducing threes and the other team shooting 50+% doesn't help either, right? So that's what the preseason's about. That's what camp's about is, trying to find ways where we can get better and improve. And then when you put it to work and test it out into preseason games, you see things that you also got to make sure you are conscious of and also got to emphasize and not overcorrect a situation, right? And I think that's kind of what we've seen so far early in the preseason is, we want to reduce threes. It doesn't mean we want guys going downhill. It doesn't mean we want guys left out on an island. We want to still make sure we're playing our brand of basketball, and I think those are the learning experiences you really get from preseason basketball.
Do you feel like it kind of reached a breaking point? I mean, you were here for all 4 years of essentially the same strategy defensively. Year one, I was like, okay, well, if they get a couple above the break threes from guys that shoot 35%, it's fine. There's just not a lot of dudes that shoot 35% from three anymore. It's typically 37. Do you feel like it reached a breaking point?
So I don't know if it's a breaking point. I just think the league's continuing to expand, the floor is continuing to grow. And I'm still a firm believer that you take the best shot available. But I know now guys are shooting from deeper, right? And so guys are shooting better from above the break because that's a closer shot than 3 feet behind the arc. And so I think it's just a continual evolution of the game. And I think for us, it's about making sure, in my opinion, we're not giving up open threes, right? We're trying to find ways to limit the easy threes. We're trying to find ways to make the threes that are taken contested, hard shots, and trying to make them play in that kind of no man's land. And I think just with the way our team is made up, we have length. We have the ability to do both. And so it's not necessarily being in denial, which I think I was once or twice in the UAE games, on your man and not letting him get the ball to three. It's about trying to do both and making sure you're in the lane, you're causing havoc, you're making sure that people are seeing bodies. You're just aware of where your man is, and you're on your horse to get out there to make sure he doesn't get an open three, or preferably not a three at all.
Bud said it feels like they're thinking a little bit. Like, we had the games, and during those games, it felt like defensively they were thinking. Did you feel like you were thinking? Because I know typically it's like it should be second nature. And you just react.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're conscious of trying to reduce threes, right? Because that's a point of emphasis, right? And you're trying to make sure you're growing in that area. I think it's about balance, right? Like, be conscious of it, but don't be thinking of that and solely that. And for a guy like me, you also got to know your game, right? Like, I think I got some of the most block shots from a guard on the perimeter of anybody in the last 4 or 5 years, right? Like, I can do both. I can be in the lane, and I can find a way to contest. I can find a way to block a shot off of it. I can find a way to cause havoc and make sure that three is not an easy shot, even if I'm not denying the three full.
Is there, speaking of points of emphasis for the league, the transition take is gone. I realize that's not probably a staple of how you guys defend, but offensively, what can that mean, especially with some of the players you have, that's no longer part of the game in order to stop transition?
Yeah, I think it can help us a lot. I mean, when you talk about Giannis getting a rebound and pushing it, you talk about Drew Holiday getting a steal and pushing it, you talk about Giannis getting a steal, pushing it, you talk about all of the speed and the athleticism that we kind of have in transition, and, that being part of our game. I think, from a transition standpoint, getting out and run and letting it fly and things of that nature is something we've also done for the last 4 years. And I think over the last few years, teams have gotten smarter about taking that foul to make sure we're not out running. And it's a momentum thing, and it's all sorts of different reasons as to why they would do it. So I do think it will benefit us. I don't think, again, we weren't a team to do it defensively, so I don't think it's something that you still got to be aware of it, but I don't think it's something we have to focus on. But offensively, I think it should help us make sure that we're able to get out in transition without it being, stopped, even if you're not in the bonus.
Flip it around. If there's not a transition take foul, perhaps that depending on the guy, the team scenario, there might be more rear contest or more chase down of okay, well, that guy's going, so we're going to try to play this angle. I'm not saying guys are going to try to put themselves in bad positions in the air, but that possibility may increase since the play is going to go out. What's the emphasis there, or is that just now you have to hope guys just sort of are paying attention? I don't know, is that the right phrase? Of when to contest on now transition, because maybe in the past it was just that foul and everything stopped.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's just promoting the continuation of competitive nature, right? And making sure you're making a play on the basketball. I do think it'll be a point of emphasis to make sure now guys just aren't diving at the basketball in transition, right? And like taking guys' legs out, but they were going for the ball technically. But I do think it's really the biggest part of it is just making sure that the ball has the chance to get to the rim, or the ball has the chance to get into the paint and kicked out for a three, or the ball has the chance to actually do something that's organic to basketball. And I think it will be a big help.
Just you had mentioned Giannis. He was talking about media day, but he still feels kind of that desperation, being desperate to win. How do you see that from him when you look at how his work ethic in the off season, preseason? What are examples of how he kind of continues to have that attitude?
Yeah, I mean, I think Giannis wants to be the best that he can be. And I think he knows that being the best that he can be is finding ways to win. And it's part of who he is. It's part of his DNA. I didn't hear him talk about desperation to win, but I think that's just a mindset that he's probably trying to have to where he doesn't want to be complacent. And I think, that's something that everybody in this team and everyone on this organization kind of believes in is, we never want to be complacent. We were fortunate to win 2 years ago. Well, we didn't win last year. So how do we get better this year, right? And how do we do better in the offseason to be better this year? And I think there's always areas to improve upon, and I think that's something that Giannis has been great about throughout his entire career is, sky's the limit, but he wants to be in the solar system. Like, he's going to continue to find ways to push that envelope, and we're going to follow right along with him.